Imagine a place where there is only darkness, the wind has become heavy, and there are only stones everywhere. A narrow road in which it is difficult to stand straight and even to breathe. Similarly, the adventure of two friends is trapped in the trap of death. One is unconscious, the other is stuck in such a turn from where it seems impossible to return. And on top of that, oxygen is also running out. Will this be the last night of their lives, or will a small hope pull them out of the jaws of death? On December 27th, 2003, a group of 8 boys from San Antonio Boys Village and 2 counselors set out for Boy Scout Cave in Florida. This group included 15-year-old Michael Ciro and 16-year-old Javerick Henderson. These 2 were adventurous teenagers who wanted to test their courage in the darkness of the cave. The counselors decided that they would stay outside because their body structure was too big to navigate in the narrow space of the cave. This cave was famous for its narrow roads and sharp turns, but it was considered safe because it was stable and dry. With just 9 flashlights, the group started entering the cave. By noon, as they went inside, the temperature dropped to 22 degrees Celsius. Outside the cave, the counselors were trying to stay warm by lighting a fire, but their decision was going to take a terrible turn. Michael and Henderson were walking ahead of the group. The cave was completely silent and suffocated. Where they were going, the air was barely coming there. There was a strange silence in the cave. The more they went inside, the more the darkness began to overwhelm them. The group was able to get out of the narrow paths with difficulty, and due to getting out of some narrow paths, there was a little damage to their bodies. After an hour, they reached a dangerous path called the Hairpin Curve. This was the narrowest and most dangerous part of the cave, a small horizontal slide in which only one person could enter, and then a 180-degree sharp turn. Under the roof, near the walls, and small stones on the floor. A wrong move and the person could have been trapped. On this road, Michael entered first and Henderson behind him. Michael slowly left this road. Then as soon as Henderson started going inside, his body got stuck in the road in a strange way. He tried to move forward, but he was neither able to go ahead nor behind. In a moment, he realized that he was badly stuck. Henderson's breathing began to get faster, and he began to panic. Michael began to walk on his knees again to save him. The walls of the stones were peeling off his hands and body, and the place was so thin that every move seemed like a war. The more they tried to escape, the more their bodies began to slip through the stones. Henderson was so tightly stuck that he did not even have a place to move. His muscles and back were pressing against the stones, and every slight move was getting faster. Time passed, and it was an hour. Michael started getting tired trying to get Henderson out, and his energy was decreasing. And then suddenly, Michael started feeling dizzy. It was difficult for him to breathe, and he fainted. His body fell to one side like a lifeless body. Henderson was screaming inside, but no one was listening. The rest of the group, who were behind, could not understand what to do. In the meantime, his flashlight also began to dim slowly, and then another big problem arose. They thought that the fire burning outside was reducing the oxygen inside the cave. Some children started panicking. They thought that the oxygen was decreasing, and if they did not go out soon, everyone would die. Now everyone had only one option. Should they leave Michael and Henderson there and go out, or put their lives in danger? The children took a very difficult decision. Somehow they walked out of the cave on their knees and told everything to the counselors. The counselors immediately put out the fire and called 911. After an hour, the rescue team reached the cave, but it was not so easy to save. The tight space and darkness of the cave was making everything a big challenge. As soon as the rescue team reached near the hairpin curve, there was a terrible scene in front of them. Henderson was conscious but was shivering. Michael was lying without moving. His breath had become weak. Time was running out. Henderson had become very weak. His voice was getting weak. Michael's body was almost frozen. The rescue team began to break the way to the cave with a small hole and tool. It was getting difficult to work in the narrow path, but they could not stop. After an hour of hard work, the rescue team managed to pull Henderson out. As soon as he came out, he took a deep breath and started crying. He could not believe that he was alive. But what happened to Michael? Did the rescue team succeed in saving him? Or did this mission become a big tragedy? Henderson was somehow taken out, but Michael was still unconscious inside the cave. The rescue team knew that if they did not hurry, Michael's life could be lost. But there was a big problem. The way to the cave was so narrow that it was very difficult for a senior rescuer to reach there. And if the stone moved by mistake, the whole structure could fall, which could force Michael to bury there. The rescue team decided that they would try to reach Michael in a new way. A rescuer, who was a little thin, was sent inside. He was given an oxygen mask and a thermal blanket so that Michael could get some warm air. As soon as the rescuer started getting close to Michael, he had another problem. Michael was stuck in a strange position. His head was down and his legs were up. In a way, his body was stuck in a U shape, which was very dangerous for his blood circulation. The rescuer first checked Michael's breathing. He was still breathing, but very slowly. His face had turned white and his body was getting cold. Now there was another problem. It was almost impossible to pull Michael out because he was in a very tight position, and if he was forced, his bones could break. The rescue team decided that first of all, the cave stones would have to be broken slowly so that we can get more space. But this was also risky work because if any big stone moves, the whole cave will collapse. As the rescuers were working, a new problem came up. The oxygen level in the cave began to decrease gradually. At first, the rescue team thought that the lack of oxygen was a psychological effect, but now they really felt that the air was getting heavy. The rescuers only had a little time. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult to save Michael. A rescuer held Michael's hand, but he looked completely lifeless. Was Michael alive, or had his breathing stopped? The rescue team thought of another way at the last minute. They put a small oxygen pipe near Michael's body so that he can get fresh air. A rescuer slowly started lifting Michael's shoulder a little, and the other rescuer tried to adjust his leg. It was a very risky move, but there was no other option. And then there was a moment when Michael's legs were free in a sudden shock. But even now, part of his leg was stuck in the middle of the stones. One more jolt was applied, and finally, Michael was taken out. As soon as he came out, the rescuer saw that Michael was still alive, but he was unconscious. His body was cold, and he was barely breathing. He was immediately brought out, and the paramedics gave him CPR. A few minutes later, Michael slowly opened his eyes. He was alive. Michael and Henderson were admitted in the hospital. For a few days, Michael was suffering from hypothermia, but he slowly recovered. Henderson was in a lot of emotional trauma, but after a few days, he also became normal. This whole incident was very dangerous and emotional, but he taught one thing. The more exciting the adventure of caving is, the more risky it is. If precautions are not taken, it can become a trap for death. If you were there, would you dare to go to the cave? Or would you never want to do this kind of adventure after hearing this real story? Whatever your opinion is, please comment.